Hey chat, have you ever been to a restaurant? Yeah, probably. But you've never been to a restaurant like mine because there is no such restaurant. Because no one is brave enough, smart enough, or ambitious enough to attempt a restaurant like mine. Not even someone as great at restauranteering as Gordon Ramsay. Because a restaurant like mine would fundamentally change what it means to be a restaurant. Today, in this video, I'm going to tell you about the greatest restaurant that doesn't exist and probably never will exist. I'm telling you about the Shack Bar and Grill. You see, the first thing about the Shack Bar and Grill that sets us apart from other restaurants is that we don't respect the difference between fine dining and casual. See, most restaurants, they box themselves in and either they say, oh, we're a fine dining place. You gotta fucking have a dress code and we gotta make everything look nice and we gotta be all fucking pretentious and shit. Or you gotta be a casual place and like it's like, oh, well, half the food's frozen. Maybe we passed a health inspection, maybe we didn't. But, you know, you can wear whatever you want and it's more of a lax environment. But at the Shack, we don't think that one has to exist over the other. And instead, we combine both. Before I move on and show you the tour of the greatest restaurant that will ever exist, the Shack Bar and Grill, there's another thing you need to know about us. You see, we aren't just set apart from other restaurants in the fact that we don't respect the difference between fine dining and casual. We also are different in another way. You see, most restaurants, whether they're fine dining or casual, they don't let you smoke. And we think that's a bunch of bullshit, malarkey, and nonsense. You see, at the Shack, we understand that when you smoke weed, you want to buy more food. So, at the Shack, we not only allow you to smoke, we require you to smoke. Okay, now as you can see from my professional rendering of the dining room, you can see that we have a very beautiful luxury dining hall. However, unlike the people you see pictured here, you would not be required to dress formally. You can come in wearing whatever the fuck you want. You can come in wearing fucking flip-flops, shorts, and a hoodie for all I care. As long as you have the money to pay for the food, you can eat at my restaurant. I don't care what you're wearing. And as you can see, there are bongs at each table as one of the centerpieces, along with flowers and, you know, other things you have at a table. Not pictured, however, is every week or so, we would get in a selection of eighths that would be designed to complement our meals. Because you see, at the Shack, we wouldn't have a menu like most restaurants would. It would kind of be like omakase, where you come in and the meal is already decided for you. You're going to get what you're going to get. And this is because not only is the food infused, it will also be designed to pair with the terpenes in the weed that you're smoking, which we provide for you at the table. So, just so you know, you will be able to take this eighth home. It is included in the price of the meal. However, you, of course, don't get to pick what it is. It's just assigned for you at the table. So, you'll get your meal, but it's required that before you eat your meal and also after your meal, you smoke at least once. The waiter will ensure this happens because they will offer to smoke with you when you first walk in. And this is just to ensure that you actually are able to get the full experience because, as I said, we do design our dishes to be paired with the strains that we provide for you at the table. Now, there's another thing that I want to note about the waiters at the Shack as well, which is that all of our servers are paid more than a living wage. So tipping is actually optional, and you'll see this posted, that you don't actually have to tip. Our servers are not dependent on tips. However, they do appreciate it. That being said, however, our servers will just speak to you like a normal person. They're not going to give you like above and beyond like service, like you're a god or something. Like, they are just going to treat you like you're some guy. And they're just like bringing you food. You know what I mean? Also, though, to note, on top of that, if you do tip and the server deems it sufficient, because like this doesn't you don't get to do this if they tip like if you tip like a penny, you can compel them to smoke with you again, since you do smoke with them at the beginning of the meal, but it's not going to be much. They have other things to do. They have other fucking tables to go to. But you can actually really smoke with them for real at the end of the meal if you tip. But if you don't tip, unless if you're like an above and beyond customer, don't expect to smoke with the servers. It's not happening. Now you may be thinking, well, once you finish the meal, once you've smoked with your waiter once or twice, once you get the check and you've paid, fun's over. And at a normal restaurant, you would be right. But you're not at a normal restaurant. You're at the Shack Bar and Grill. And at the Shack Bar and Grill, when you finish your meal, you don't go to the exit. You go to a hallway in the back that leads you to one of two rooms. Okay, so when you turn to the left, you see we have 3 beautiful attractions, right? So on the far left corner over here, we have our casino. We have our professional blackjack dealer or blackjack table. Maybe we'll have some other tables in there as well, like poker, baccarat. Maybe we'll put in some roulette as well. But we're not a casino. That's just like a side attraction for some people to like maybe try and pay off their meal, or maybe they end up paying for 5 meals. Who knows? That's the casino. That's the fun of the casino. But when they're done with the casino, when they realize they've wasted enough money, or they've won enough money, they can come to our main attraction in this room, the roller coaster. And yes, we are going to put a roller coaster in this restaurant. No, I don't care how loud it is. No, I don't care if you think there's not enough space. We are going to have a warehouse attached to this restaurant where there is a roller coaster. And you might think, oh, that's dumb. People are eating and they're high. They're eating infused food and they're smoking. And maybe they're drinking too, since we're also going to get a liquor license to serve alcohol at this restaurant. What if they throw up? Then they need to fucking grow up and not get on my roller coaster. Next, we have the shooting range. Now, you might hear some similar concerns like, oh, people are intoxicated shooting guns. Isn't that dangerous? No, because we're going to have someone there making sure that they're not shooting each other. Duh. Like, we're not asking them to bring their own guns. We're going to let them rent guns, so we're making more money. We're going to let them buy bullets for their rented gun, which, by the way, if they don't have that gun, they're going to have to return the bullets, so, more money. Okay, anyway, on top of that, we're going to have a guy there, the guy who's renting them the guns and bullets, who's not drinking, not smoking, maybe he's smoking a little, but he's not drinking, who is making sure that they're not fucking killing each other with the gun. So the guns are safe, roller coaster's safe, casino's the casino. Moving on, let's look at the room on the right. On the room on the right, we've designed an experience for our patrons who, when they get high, they want a more chill experience. They don't want to be in an environment that's as overstimulating as the room on the left. So we've designed them a very comforting kind of lounge so they can just relax in after they eat, where they can just kind of enjoy their high in peace. So we have a couch. Not pictured in the rendering, we have a TV. The reason it's not pictured is because, as you can see, the couch is facing us, the viewer, and behind us would be the TV, because you wouldn't have a TV behind the couch, obviously. But in this rendering, we include some of our main attractions, that being the ball pit, where people can just kind of swim around and enjoy, the balls, maybe, make some new friends, and more importantly, we have our sensory deprivation tank, where you can kind of just crawl in and just, be deprived of your senses, as is the name. Now that I've shared with you the blueprint for the greatest restaurant that could possibly and would possibly ever exist, try not to be too depressed about the fact that it never will, because unfortunately, I don't think anyone will see my vision and wish to adopt it in the way that it would need to be adopted. So, unfortunately, I don't think we will ever see such a restaurant that really challenges what it means to be a restaurant in the way that the Shack does. Because no other restaurant is ambitious enough to try and put a roller coaster in it. No other restaurant is ambitious enough to infuse the food and make the waiter smoke with you. No restaurant is ambitious enough to pair eights at the table with you that are meant to like pair with your food. No one is doing it like the Shack is doing it, and unfortunately, I don't think anyone ever will. But that being said, we can dream, which is why I've made this video. So, if you enjoyed the Shack, if you think that the Shack should exist, comment your thoughts on it. And like, if there are anything that you would want, if there are any like parts of the restaurant that you would want to change, if there's any amenities you'd like to add to improve the dining experience beyond the excellence that I'm already offering to provide customers of the Shack. Because while I think I've achieved perfection here, maybe you have some ideas that would make this 20 times better than it already is. That being said, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to try and make at least a couple videos a week, but I don't have an exact schedule. But anyway, see you in the next one.